New York City, 1990s. An old man wanders the sidewalks of Greenwich Village in a faded nightgown. He shuffles along, eyes down, mumbling to himself. Locals whisper, "Oh, that's just the chin. Poor guy's crazy." But they had no idea that this crazy man was running one of the most powerful mafia empires in the world, giving silent orders from a psychiatric ward. This was Vincent the Chin Gigante, the criminal mastermind who fooled the FBI for 30 years. His madness, just an act. His empire, brutal. His mind, brilliant. This is the story of the mafia's most bizarre and brilliant puppet master.
A ghost boss emerges. New York, 1981. In a packed Bronx courtroom, Anthony Fat Tony Salerno, one of the mafia's most notorious names, is dragged in chains. The FBI is celebrating. The headlines scream, "Genovese boss behind bars. Mafia empire crumbles." But something doesn't add up. In the weeks after Salerno's arrest, the Genovese family's operations continue without a hitch. Gambling, loan sharking, extortion, everything is running like clockwork. FBI agents start asking, if the boss is gone, who's still pulling the strings? Then a low-level mob informant breaks the silence with a name whispered in fear. Salerno was a front. The real boss? The Chin. Vincent, the Chin Gigante, a name no one dared to say out loud. Soldiers referred to him as that guy, him, or sometimes they just pointed. Vincent was the ultimate ghost. No phones, no paper trails, no voice recordings. He communicated only in person, and only in whispers. He had a paranoid ritual. Whenever he wanted to speak freely, he'd fill the bathtub, turn on the faucet, and whisper, muffling any chance of microphones catching his words. And when someone dared to break the rules, they disappeared. A young soldier once mentioned Gigante's name in a diner. 2 days later, his body was found floating in the Bronx River. A note pinned to his chest, "Respect the Chin." Vincent's reign had begun, hidden in plain sight, and the FBI didn't even realize it. The Crazy Genius Act. The streets of Greenwich Village are flooded with press and police. After years of evading capture, Vincent, the Chin Gigante, is finally arrested. But when he walks out of his townhouse, jaws drop. He's wearing a bathrobe. His hair is a mess. He shuffles like a nursing home patient. In one hand, a worn-out Bible. His eyes, blank. His steps, wobbly. He's escorted by a nurse. In court, his lawyer declares, "Your Honor, my client suffers from schizophrenia and dementia." He doesn't understand where he is. The courtroom freezes. Psychiatrists are brought in. Medical reports follow, all claiming this man is mentally unfit for trial. The FBI suspects it's an act, but they have no proof. Gigante avoids technology completely. No phones, no tapes, no fingerprints. His orders move silently through trusted capos, from whisper to whisper, like a deadly game of telephone. An FBI agent says bitterly, "He walks like a lunatic, but his empire runs like a machine." The media gives him a new nickname, the Godfather. Photos of the pajama-wearing, muttering mobster flood the newspapers. To the public, he's a harmless old man. But to the FBI, a ghost kingpin wrapped in wool and lies. They knew it was all fake, but they just couldn't prove it. Yet, inside the empire, while the world pitied the man in the bathrobe, he ran an empire worth hundreds of millions. Under the Chin's rule, the Genovese family dominated. The construction industry, where contracts were decided by who paid the family first, union control, every deal passed through his shadow. Illegal gambling dens, operating in every New York borough, loan sharking, where interest was enforced at gunpoint, and the code? Silence. Gigante enforced Omerta 2.0, stricter than the original Mafia code. Rule number 1, never say his name. Rule number 2, never write anything down. Rule number 3, whisper. Always whisper. He once ordered a hit on a soldier who casually mentioned his name at a family barbecue. One restaurant owner, who refused to pay protection money, had his building burned to the ground. When investigators pulled surveillance footage, the same image kept appearing. An old man, in slippers and a bathrobe, shuffling down the sidewalk. No one took him seriously. Everyone said the same thing. He's not dangerous. He's just sick. But behind the curtain, the Chin played chess while the FBI chased pawns. His system was so airtight, so brilliant, that it took 3 decades for the authorities to even realize they were in a game. FBI's trap in the final fall, 1997. The FBI changes strategy. If they couldn't catch Gigante through his actions, they'd catch him through his lies. They investigate the people protecting his madness. Doctors who signed mental illness reports, lawyers who swore he was unfit, family members who backed his performance. They wiretap his son, Andrew Gigante. One conversation changes everything. Vincent, tell the doctors I was confused again. They'll believe you. The FBI finally had proof. The madness was an act. They flip one of Gigante's closest soldiers, a trusted insider, who confesses. Boss is sharp as ever. The whole crazy thing, all fake. FBI prepares its case and the press explodes. Boom. The odd father was never odd. He was a genius in disguise. In court, under overwhelming evidence, Gigante finally pleads guilty to obstruction of justice and racketeering. The judge stares at him and says, "You mocked our system for 30 years, but this act is over." He's sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. In December 2005, at age 77, Vincent the Chin Gigante dies behind bars. Some still wonder, was he really sane the whole time? Or did the madness eventually become real? Vincent the Chin Gigante didn't just break the law. He bent the entire justice system to his will and made it look easy. For nearly 30 years, he walked through the streets of New York wearing a bathrobe, muttering to himself, looking like a lost old man. People laughed. Some pitied him. Everyone believed he was mentally ill. But in reality, he was the undisputed boss of the Genovese crime family, the most secretive, powerful, and disciplined mafia empire in the country. While the FBI chased loud gangsters and flashy dons, the Chin whispered commands from behind hospital walls. He never used phones, never signed documents. He gave orders in whispers, sometimes from a running bathtub to drown out hidden microphones. His paranoia wasn't a weakness, it was a weapon. And the act? It was flawless. Judges threw out cases, doctors signed mental evaluations, lawyers defended his insanity. Family members backed his behavior. Every time the government tried to pin him down, Gigante shuffled into the courtroom like a confused patient and walked away untouched. He became a ghost in plain sight. But behind the bathrobe and blank stares, he ran a brutal machine. He controlled union contracts, gambling rackets, extortion operations, all while pretending not to know what day it was. He didn't just escape justice, he mocked it. For 3 decades, he lived a double life, convincing the world he was sick, while his enemies disappeared and his empire grew stronger. It took one line to finally crack the illusion. A wiretap captured him telling his son, "Tell the doctors, I was confused again. They'll understand." That was it. The act was over. The FBI built their case, not just on crimes, but on the cover-up of his fake madness. They found doctors, lawyers, and even family members who had all played their part in keeping the performance alive. And in 1997, Vincent the Chin Gigante finally pled guilty, not just to racketeering, but to obstruction of justice for faking insanity. It was official. The odd father was never odd. He was a criminal genius. In 2005, he died in a prison hospital at the age of 77, quietly, the same way he lived. But the question remains, was he still pretending, even in the end? His legacy still haunts the justice system. He proved that power doesn't always wear suits or carry guns. Sometimes power wears a bathrobe, shuffles down the street, and fools the world with a blank stare. He taught us that the scariest man in the room might not yell. He might whisper, or worse, not speak at all.